and say, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to PAX South. How's everyone doing today? Woo! It's Sunday morning. We all just woke up. It's okay. I'm East Coast time, so I've been up for like 3 hours at this point. I'm like, come on, could you open PAX early? I want to do stuff. All right, so welcome to Cardboard Kabuki. It's a catchy title to get you to look at the schedule at my panel. My name is Patrick Burden. I'm also known as Colga on various online forums. You can hit me up on Twitter, and let's turn on the magic wand here if you want. That's the easiest way to contact me. And like I said earlier, I have business cards, so feel free to come up if you are interested. If not, no big deal. It's totally cool. Turn off the laser pointer. All right. So, in the beginning, we rolled for civs. And some people rolled in the Asian area. When civilization was first brought into existence, we were kind of busy doing that whole survival thing. We weren't sure how to plant stuff, that we had to hunt. We had to travel from location to location. We had animals kicking our ass. But at some point, some of the civilizations went ahead and survived on forward. We skip ahead a bit, and we have a class system. We now have means of economics, whether it be trading gold or conch shells or stones or what have you. And in the Asian market specifically, board games were invented. They were invented out of nowhere in regard for a means to pass the time. And the only reason board games exist is because we got bored. Board games were, in the Asian area, for the rich only. You had to have so much money available to you. You did not have to work. So you were bored all day with nothing else better to do. I'm going to waste my time on a game. And that's where these games are coming from. Also, it's another way to brag to other people. Like, I'm totally smarter than you. I can kick your ass in the board game. So it was also a means to challenge one another. And if we're talking about it, here are the examples that are most commonly affiliated with this type of panel. This is what I like to call, get the stuff out of the way first so we can talk about the interesting things later. First, you have Mahjong. You may be familiar with this game. It might be on your phone or computer. But this is solitaire version, where you're trying to match tiles with one another to eventually clear the board. It could be, this is a pyramid shape. It could be like a bridge shape or a river. There's a bunch of ones. However, when you go and think about Asian board gamings in the Asian territories, when you say Mahjong, they do not think of this. They think of this. It is a 4-player high-stakes casino game that you play similar to Rummy. You start off with tiles, 15 tiles, and you have them secret to you. And on your turn, you can either take a tile from the middle, you look at it, and you can either keep it or place it back in the middle face up. And your goal is to make straights, 3 4s of a kind, until all your tiles are gone. This is insanely popular. You can go into tournaments in any casino with an Asian area and spend all day there. It is very, very interesting. Also, Mahjong, if you go and do a quick Google search on them, they have leagues around the world, including the United States. So if you want to learn it, you can actually go to a group and actually learn how to play this game itself. It's a very fun game. Highly recommend it. At least just try out once or twice. All right, here we go. Bansokoro. Kind of looks like backgammon, doesn't it? This is backgammon before backgammon was a thing. So rules are very similar. You're trying to get all your stones from one side on the horseshoe circle to the opponent's side to get them off the board and win. Unlike backgammon, however, nothing is set up on the board itself. You simply roll dice and move your stuff there. You can capture individual ones like backgammon to have them go back to start. Not gonna lie, this is not a good game. It's a good time waster. It's very interesting. If you want to play something like this, backgammon heavily improved upon the rules. And if you're going to play backgammon, make sure you play with a doubling cube, because that goes from kids game into poker level territory of strategy. So if nothing else, look up the rules of doubling cube and then have your mind blown with that. Next up, we got Parcheesi. course we have to do Parcheesi. This is the #1 game of India. On the left is a more traditional style of crosses and circles, which is basically the same thing. For those who are unfamiliar, it's similar to Sorry. You roll your dice, you move it out from your home base, you lap the board, and then you try to get all your pieces to the middle of the board. Once you do that, you win. The dice are not one individual chunk, but 2 individual numbers. So a 6 and a 5 is a 6, a 5, or a 11, depending on how you want to go ahead and play that. And like Sorry, you can capture your opponent to have them go back to start. A little bit of strategy involved to move around there. If you haven't played Parcheesi, this is one of those games that you can pick it up at Toys R Us, Target, or any other major retailer, or just get it at a local convention because there's always going to be a copy of this out there. I would pronounce that, but I will butcher it, so I'm just going to say Chinese chess instead. And, thank you, Joshi. All right, I think I got it. All right, so I'm assuming you're familiar with chess, right? So this is chess in the traditional sense. So right here we have the back row. We have our king right in the middle here. The king is stuck to this square, so he can't move outside of it, but he can move around it. These 2 guys right here, they are cannons. They fire cannonballs to the enemy side if anyone's in the way. And these are your pawns. The goal is obviously capture the king. Now, to do that, you might notice, like in the middle here, there's not much there. That's the river. You have to cross the bridges on either side. So, in order for movement-wise, you basically can fortify yourself into a choke point, move your cannon's position, and start blasting the enemy away. Or you can try to fake one way, go the opposite way. Chinese chess is still somewhat popular. Fortunately, not as popular as actual chess, but it's common enough that you can go to a friendly local game store. They should have some variant of this available for you, either in their free play section or for sale. Let's go with another one that you might have heard of. Hanafuda. This is a very, very difficult game to explain, but it is a very delicate game. It is a game in which, similar to poker, you have to start with a hand of cards. You're trying to get rid of your cards. If you call your shot and say, I'm going to go out this turn, you will get bonus points. You play for multiple hands. High score wins. And also, if you're not familiar, Nintendo was also big in the Hanafuda way back in the day, before they were in the video game market. You can still buy Nintendo Hanafuda cards if you visit Japan. Or I believe you used to be able to activate play coins to get a set mailed to you via the rewards program. Since they lapsed that rewards program, I'm not sure if that's still accurate, but hey, you now have an excuse to spend some coins. The pack comes with all Mario-themed stuff, plus instruction booklets. Also warning, very tiny cards, so if you have large hands, you may want to get a holder for it so you can hold them up properly. Then we come to Go. There's a lot to say about Go. Is there anyone here not familiar with Go? Okay, I can go past the basic assumptions here. So, your goal, get the board, have more of your stones as opposed to your opponent's stones. To say Go is popular is an understatement of the century here, because throughout Asian culture, you'll see many examples of people playing Go. Nice sweaters, 1980s. But Go, it is a phenomenon into itself. What you're seeing here, it is a Go club. You can literally go hang out all day on a Saturday or Sunday at a public venue and play Go all day. Some of them are a little bit more professional. This is actually an actual Go tournament that's done over the weekend. It even has spectators for people to watch people play Go. Bit hard to see from up there, but whatever's your boat. Also, it has a ranking system onto itself. When you initially play Go, you play a couple sample hands to get a sample of your rank, and then throughout, whenever you get better, there's special rules on how to go from one rank to another, and how to determine that. This is very tight. It's almost as tight as the ELO system that American sports like to use from occasion. In addition, There are many famous celebrities with this. This one is Tien Zhajondon, or Go Saigon is the more common name for it, and it's considered the greatest Go player to ever live in the 20th century. Unfortunately, he died due to an accident. He was pushing someone out of the way from a speeding car. He's considered a legend. There are many books and movies based on his life. And of course, because we're in the market, there's anime that's solely based on Go. Let's go ahead and see here. Okay, there is Yu-Gi-Oh guy. Yu-Gi-Oh guy's right there. We got Digimon here. We got this. Got the normal straight guy. Could be a Naruto side character, but you get the point. Go is insanely popular, and if you think the anime is kind of a weird, obscure thing, if you follow AGDQ, ZCE Honky, which won the Kirby Superstar race, it's his favorite anime of all time. Barring he is from Japan, he is a speedrunner, and yet he watches Go anime. Go figure. On top of that, Go is even in the movies itself. This, for those who don't know, is called Divine Move. It is a blood sport movie in which you go and fight to the death while playing Go. There's a movie trailer of this.
9월 12일 공격해.
자네 신의 한 수를 본 적 있나? 이 망가진 삶을 역전시킬 수 있는 그런 배우수 말이세.
새끼 프로야.
대만은 쉽게 죽지 않습니다.
복귀는 무덤 가서 하시오.
내게는 요 한대.
쉽지 않을 텐데.
시간 되면 바둑이나 한판 같이 두죠. 목숨 걸고 두면 재밌을 것 같아.
후회하게 될 거야. 내가 아주 고통스럽게 죽일 거야.
내게는 지금부터야.
끝내.
바둑판에서 바둑돌이 전부 죽는 거 본 적 있어. 잘 봐. 지금부터 보여줄게.
Who knew a board game would do so well as a kung fu movie? And according to the internet, it's So, I talked a lot about Go and went through and blasted through the modern era. Go is a big deal. And you would think at this point I'm going to ravage you to play Go and be amazed by it. Unfortunately, I am not a fan of the game personally. It's not because it's not because it's something that is horrible. It's something that's not to my taste. Am I saying that Go, would that be considered a bad game in of itself? Well, yes and no, depending on where you ask. Fun aside, these guys were at PAX South a couple years back, and there's a YouTube video just on their segment of discussing if Go was a bad game. In the comments thread, somebody linked it to the official Reddit for the Go players. The amount of salt that was poured, so beautiful. Just skim it there. You'll see the people like, oh yeah, they're kind of right. And the other people, no, this is my existence. This got to be perfect. But the best way I can describe Go to a layman's person who hasn't played Go before or doesn't know why I enjoy Go is I bring up Street Fighter. You all play Street Fighter before, right? You go to the arcade and play it there yourself. You go up, you pick a character, and you go, all right, I can be the boxer guy. I can punch things. Then you go and face with someone else, and then you go, all right, let's go. You punch and kick, and then you lose in about 10 seconds in. Because according to professional players, they don't really care about the movesets or what have you. They're just monitoring how the frames work and getting priority with their movements over others. Many other fighting games do this, including Blaze Blue. I'm trying to think of the other popular ones off the top of my head right now, but it's coming to a blank. But they look at fighting games in a way that most people don't. Like, do you really want to study the frame data of move sets to figure out the distance of when to activate your move to get priority to deflect fireballs back at your opponent at a faster speed? No, I'm not going to do that. I got stuff to do. I have more things to do. If I was purely fighting game guy, yeah, I'll study this and become better and try to do tournaments and try to win stuff. But as casual player, I'm not going to bother with this. I'm just going to go there and have fun. Maybe do a combo too. Get one of my 15 Hadoukens I'm trying to pull off. But you get the point. Goes the exact same way. We initially go, sit down and play Go. If it's a traditional 19 by 19 board, you go, okay, you go first. Put a stone anywhere on the board. Where do you put it? You just randomly put stuff on the board to see what happens? It's not how it goes. And then at some points, the experienced players are going to come in and go, huh. In 5 moves, he's like, I got to over half the board. And then it's gone. And you go, what just happened? Like, all my stuff was there. Now it's gone. How'd that happen? I don't know. It's because Go players specifically like to dedicate their lives to the game itself. Because of that, they study patterns and movements and feints and tricks to force you to put your stones at places that will be more favorable to them. If you just play Go, Go is an immense, popular experience. If you're just going to play Go every once in a while, no. There are other board games out there that you can play. There's more than Go. Try those as well. But also try Go. Even if it's just you and a friend of yours that have no idea how to play Go, I would say try it because it is a classic game. It is an abstract game. And it does have good merit to it. But don't play with a professional because they're going to ruin it for you. Oh, wow. This is a shot from my apartment 5 years ago. I don't even have most of those games anymore. Wow. All right. But in more recent times, AlphaGo came to prominence. For those who didn't follow the news, around March of last year, there was a thing with AlphaGo. Google recently acquired this company that, as they claimed, could solve Go. If you remember from the 80s and Deep Blue and IBM, we effectively figured out how to brute force chess, where we would go through all the iteration of chess, pick out the best move, and do the move. And we wait for the input of the opponent, and we do it again. And that way, computers could beat humans on a level playing field of chess. Unfortunately, Go's a little bit more complicated than that. In order to brute force Go itself, you would have to not only invent quantum computing, but you need the computer capacity of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy in order to generate the solution to Go. So we can't brute force Go. This is one of the challenges of computer scientists have been going for. And through a lot of tedious work, the AlphaGo team, with lots of trial and error, devised a way for a computer to not brute force it, but to analyze heuristics of the Go board itself to make plays. Its first challenge was with Fawn He. He is the European Go champion. And they invited him out, and they said, okay, we're going to do a best-of-5 series. We're going to give you $10,000 for showing up. For every game that you've beat our computer, you can win $25,000. If the computer beats you, we will donate that money to a charity. The result? Clean sweep for AlphaGo. 5-0. Done. So at this point, AlphaGo is pretty confident. It's like, okay, we beat the European champion. We got a good sample set. We want to scale it up a bit. We want better competition. Enter Lee Sedol. He is considered one of the top Go players in China. He travels around the Asian countries and effectively plays Go for a living as a professional Go player. So, same thing applies. They paid him money to show up. They'll pay him additional money for every game that he wins. And if the computer wins, then they will simply go and donate to charity. Now, because Lee is a little bit more popular, this was a broadcast event. You could tune in prime time slot and watch Lee Sedol play Go against AlphaGo live with commentary. So, in addition to that, there are live streams of this. You can watch the entire game move for move if you want, and people have done their own commentary because the commentary on YouTube was horrible, and we're going for lowest common denominator. So, I could explain what had happened for this match, or I could have a meme do it for me. Fire up the meme.
8の5。
8のそこか。
これは最善の一手ではない。最強の一手でもない。僕がどう打ってくるか試している一手だ。僕の力量を測っている。遥かな高みから。
Not so well. Now, I'll give credit where credit's due. Lee actually won Game 4 and managed to beat AlphaGo, and that in itself was considered a massive victory. The other 4 games, AlphaGo not only beat him, but beat him using techniques that no one is able to figure out yet. The Go Commission that oversaw this experiment gave AlphaGo, the computer, a ceremonial level 1 Dan, which is the highest rank you can get for playing Go. At that point, it was considered a massive success for computer science. So now you don't have to play Go anymore because it's been theoretically solved. Not mathematically, but theoretically we can do it. But that leads us to today. Whole bunch of Go discussion. Got that out of the way. So now the meat and potatoes of this is the culture of the Asian market. When you go and try to look up research for a particular area that you're unfamiliar with, you typically go to forums, you typically go online, you do a little bit of research and see how things are and see what are the different things of there. So if you were to visit, you can go ahead and have a kinship to that. When it comes to board games, it is tighter than Fort Knox to pierce that. So, not going to lie, I have contacts in both Japan, China, and Indonesia. And everyone I was able to talk to, they could not tell me a legitimate source for board game information in the Asian market. I mean, they're locals to the area, they've traveled to places, they're nerdy people. We talk nerdcore all the time, but nothing when it comes to board games. And that is not by accident. It's actually kind of on purpose because board games to the Asian market is a thing, but it's not a popular thing. If, for those of you who might be old enough to recall back when Settlers of Catan was the thing you play in the mid-90s, it hasn't hit that saturation point yet. We haven't had that one shiny moment in the Asian market for people to go, oh, wow, this thing's real. There's got to be more of this stuff to go about and get it. But we also have Euro games. We have American games. We have so many other avenues of games that exist out there to go and be played. But so why hasn't it taken off? I mean, Catan exists, and you could play it now. And, of course, Mayday will ship games to the Asian market. But why hasn't that one game hit home for them? So for your viewing pleasure, I decided to do a BuzzFeed list I think I have it clickbaity enough to keep you in the room for it. But here are 6 reasons. Number 1, Go is king. If you couldn't tell by now, Go is really popular. And when people think board games, it's like the same Twitch reaction people get when you talk to your family. Like, I like to play board games, and they immediately go to Monopoly. It's like, yeah, Monopoly is a board game, but there's a whole bunch of other stuff out there. Same thing with the Asian market. It's like, oh, you play board games? I don't want to play Go. I don't like that game. It's too hard. It's like, no, Go is a game, and you can play it, but there's other games out there. It's the same thing there. Second reason, it was a Sudoku edict. It was a policy done in the 17th century. This is Tokugawa shogunate of Japan. And a lot of Asian companies copied this, but he's effectively the unofficial pinner of this. So, a little history for you. Asian territories were doing their thing. They're having a good time. And then a bunch of Europeans come in and go, hey, guys, we want to trade stuff with you and give you stuff, and you give us stuff and make some trade routes. The Asian market was like, I don't trust you. You seem suspicious. We're going to go ahead and put some rules there because we don't want to lose our culture to what you're bringing in. We want to maintain our culture. And in hindsight, they were right. So, Sudoku Edict gets passed in 1639. It effectively, in a nutshell, if you are a foreigner that goes to the Asian territory, you are not considered a citizen in the eyes of the government. You are a less than citizen. Now, this edict is not around today. It thankfully got repealed. But a lot of the laws and a lot of the things that the cultures do today stem off of this simple fact. Also, we didn't help matters either. For those unfamiliar, in 1853, we had Commodore Matthew Perry with his steamship say, oh, hey, there's Japan. Let's dock there. And Japan, with his samurai, was like, nope, you're not allowed to come here. And if you read history books, the American cannons go, fire a warning shot, and the samurai drop their swords. When he goes to the other side of history, it's more like, I've never seen that before. They would totally destroy us in a battle. So they invite them on, and they do unjust treaties, according to the Asian market. For America, we were just spreading wealth. We want to say, hey, we want to be your friends. We want to be trade partners with you. We want to go ahead and establish a military basis for conflict in the future. But the Asian territories was like, no. So in order to keep up with the Joneses effectively, they split their culture into 2 dissect trees. One was a traditional tree that they were accustomed to, and the other half was this modernization tree to go ahead and advance their technology, keep up with everyone, so that they can properly defend themselves. Fast forward to today. This image is probably the best thing I could describe the Xbox launch in Japan. In effect, we've tried really, and I do mean really hard, to sell Western things into the culture, but they do not want to touch it. They just are not interested in it because it's not theirs. They see us as outsiders and inferior. They rather go ahead and buy local produced items like PlayStation 4s and Nintendos as opposed to Xboxes. Even though that we try, we extend the hand, we effectively are the outsiders. And because of that, we are not considered as equal to the products of the country. So when it comes to board games, hey, I got some board games here from America. Won't you try them? No, they're not going to try them. They're outside. They're inferior to our stuff. So that is another big component as to why it's not popular. Reason number 3, money talks. So at this point, I talked a little bit of history and been a little bit dry. So let's play a game of Name That Prize. Woo! Yeah, I'm too early in the morning for that. All right. So it's real simple. I'm going to give you the price of a video game according to GameStop. And you're going to try to guess the price listed from Super Potato. For those who don't know, Super Potato is one of the most popular video game chains. The most famous location is in Akihabara, which is a district for electronics. So we get the idea. All right, so first up, we have Call of Duty Black Ops 3 from November 2015. No, I did not go with recent ones because I want to make this a little bit tricky for you. So a little bit of background. We're going with the PS4 release of the game. This game is a new copy. It is region-free, and it does not take into effect any season passes or DLCs. So it's just the deaths that you would get at the stores day one. So at the time of November, you would buy this at GameStop for $50. How much do you think you would get the same exact game in Japan? Okay, everyone got a number? If you said $70.10, you would be right for a brand new game. Okay, let's switch it up a bit. Alien Isolation. This game just came out that month. It's for the Xbox One, so not the popular system. But Sega is a Japanese publisher, and they published the game. So you're not importing anything. It's locally available there. And we could get it in the United States for $50. How much do you think that game costs in Japan? If you said $66 and a penny, you would be totally right. All right, last one. I'm going to throw a curveball at you. Far Cry 4. This game at this point in time has been out for 9 months. We are going for a used copy, but the used copy comes with the season pass that was not used. So season pass plus the used disc for the PlayStation 4. You're going to pick this game up for $20 at a GameStop. How much would you be able to get it at a Super Potato? If you said $35.31, you would be absolutely right. Thank you for playing Name That Price. So as you can see, yeah, things are a lot more expensive in the Asian market. Go figure. And it's weird when you talk board games because if you follow any Kickstarter, they pump all the stuff that's been produced goes to China because they're the cheapest ones to produce it. So in order to sell it in the Asian market, they would have to make it in China, ship it on the boat to the United States, ship it back to the Asian market for them to buy it. It's right there. You just have a little chain going from the market directly there. Avoid the boat trip. You're going to save so much. But in the board gaming industry, we haven't figured out how to do that yet. So how do they go and get games to play? Because obviously there's board games there. Board games are available and people can buy them. The answer to that is board game cafes. Now, Snakes and Lattes is the most popular one for the North America and Canada. And there's Board and Brew in Maryland, but there's a bunch of others out there. However, the way that they present the board game cafe experience is much different than usual. Because when you arrive, you sit down at a table with you and your friends, and you're given a drink menu. So you can order bubble tea, you can order regular tea. There's some food items there. You place your order, you give it to the waitress. Once that's done, waitress comes back with a second menu of the board games. And from there, you would have to rent the board games out per game. The average price is between $4.50 and $7 per game. And on the menu, has all the selections. You select, I want to play this one. They go, great. Then they go away. They bring out the game. They set up the game for you. And then, in our terms, they would have a guru teach you the game. But in this case, the guru would be the waitress themselves. So they would lay out the game. They would explain the rules to you in full. They would ask you if you have any questions, and then they would leave. Then a little bit of time, your food would be ready. They come back with your food, and they place it on the side, and you play the game and eat your food. Now, very rarely would they sit down and play for more than one game, but you have the option to do that if you order another drink and food item. So you have to get another round of food, or to get the menu again, select the game, and keep on going with it. So when it comes to board gaming cafes, they have much longer titles. They don't have a lot of quick games because they expect you to pay for each one, not only by the game itself, by food. So a lot of longer titles are played here. On occasions, there are short titles, and also you're not allowed to bring your own games into a board gaming cafe. That's considered very rude and unmanageable. But there are cafes all over the place. Some cafes also double as retail. This is the Witch House itself. It is in Taiwan. And if you can see on the side here, they do have a little bit a sample of buying some games that you can get. But most often, there's the library. You would just go. Some that are a little bit more lax, and you can just walk up, pick up a game and go. But it is expected for every game that you play, you order a food item and a drink item. If you don't do that, you get the stink eye, and they know and they recognize that. And you could be denied service if you do it too often. But like many things, there's also board gaming shops. And like I mentioned before, when it comes to board games, we don't have a pipeline from the manufacturers of China or in the Asian market to go to the Asian market. We have to ship it over to the warehouse of the United States in order to ship it back. Because of which, a lot of the games that you'll see in the Asian market are effectively the American print runs of the games, because that's where the main distribution warehouses are. And they're not easily in a language that's there. Everything's in English because they're going to assume that all the games are going to be sold there. Now, thankfully, there are many resources available online that help translate these instructional booklets, and some of them are printed in multiple languages. So those are typically more popular. But in of itself, they are simply just going to be games that we can buy at a frankly local game store, much more expensive in Asia. Reason number 4, the opposite phenomenon. So, does anyone here have a younger or older sibling? I got a younger sibling. And whenever I wanted to say that I enjoyed something, she absolutely despised that existence. To the point which, as soon as I say, oh, this tastes good, I don't like that. Unfortunately, it worked the other way around because we were dumb kids at the time, where if she would like something, I wouldn't like it. Same goes with the Asian market. So I'm going to throw up some figures here from a study. They did a survey of video games for Chinese players, and these was the results. If you notice here, this is 2014. Diablo 3 just came out, and 40% of the people never heard of Diablo before. It's a massive game from Blizzard. It just came out. How have you not heard about it? There's marketing all over the place. But sure enough, there's a big swath that ignore it. All right, so Diablo just came out. It may have been labs, it might not be popular in China. So let's do a different game that's popular, like StarCraft. Okay, in your head, you have an idea of a StarCraft player. Joke of the Asian player that plays the game and tries to become a professional league. So they asked a survey of a couple countries, the United States as well. And take a look here. In Japan, over 50% of gamers never heard of StarCraft. One of the biggest games in Korea. You're physically not that far away from Korea. You would think you would have at least heard about it at some point. In addition, only 7% of Japanese players actually played the game. 0% played it. You either are a fan of it or not interested in it. And that goes the same with other countries. If there is a game that says this game is popular in Korea, they immediately don't like it. They're not going to buy it because it's popular somewhere else. Reason number 5. Localization is really hard. I mean, like, shout-outs to eFigs and the Universal Standard. But in order to translate something from native English to other languages with different idioms and different expressions and have it coerced with the safe measures. It's difficult. I mean, I could go back into the NES days, pull up some horrible translated options, and give you stuff. But this is kind of low-hanging fruit. It's like, okay, this is Ghostbusters. The Angry Video Nerd made fun of this end screen for a bunch of videos. But this is a thing that's still prevalent. AAA title, Nintendo. Watergate. No, you don't say Watergate. So translation's hard. Stuff happens. And because of that, the circle of translation woe happens. In short, you have a bunch of people that want to play your game, but you don't have the language for it. So they try to modify and have fan patches so they can translate your game for you. And because of that, other pirates go, they cracked the game. Let's try to sell this, actually. So they go ahead, modify the assets, use the same translations there, and then sell as a pirated copy. And then when the company goes, hey, you're selling pirated copies of our games, we're not going to support your language, you go, no! That's the whole point! We were trying to get the language on there so we can enjoy the games themselves, but because of other people, we can't have nice things. I mean, really, that's where it comes down to. If there's money and effort put into game companies to go and translate the rule sets from English to either Mandarin or Japanese or Korean, then there wouldn't be need to pirate. You just buy the game outright. Last one is brand loyalty. When it comes really specifically to Indonesia and Japan, if you are a loyal brand, people will line up and buy things. I mean, there's that in America, obviously. But for the Asian market, that is a really big deal. Like, if it's a new product, a new IP, they look at it way back. They're not going to touch it until at least they get verified sources on it. So when you introduce new IP or some new concept there, it's very, very risky to go about it. It's better to do Final Fantasy 15 as opposed to brand new RPG driving simulator. And I mean, in America, we all have this too with various brands. But usually, all people need to see in the States is, oh my God, that's a Ghostbusters board game. I like Ghostbusters. Time to kickstart it without knowing anything else. In America, we're a little bit more susceptible to the brand. For the Asian market, it's more of, I need to know more information. I'm not going to touch that yet. I want to know if the game's good. It's a little bit more wary when it comes to their wallets. All right, so now the fun part. Actual Asian board games. So, rule of thumb, anything that you think is an Asian board game is probably not. Lupin the Third is Italian, not in the Asian market. Shogun is obviously Milton Bradley with Shogun's theme. And Tichu, one of the more popular ladder climbing games that you could play in the Asian market, was invented by a designer in Norway that just combined a bunch of ladder games into one. So all of these games I'm about to show you, actual designers in the Asian market, you might have heard of some, and I'm going to cast a wide net. So if you don't like the games I produce, it's okay. It's cool. I'm going to go to a different game in a couple minutes anyway. All right, so let's start with the big one, if I hit the right button. Love Letter. This game popularized the micro game genre. So for those who are not familiar, what you would do is on your turn, you would go and you have a card in your hand. And on your turn, you draw a card. And then you look at both cards, and then you play a card. And the goal of the game is to not get eliminated. Now, certain cards you can play, try to guess the opponent's card. If you guessed right, they're eliminated. Or you compare ranks, and whoever has the lower card gets eliminated. And your goal is to survive at the end. And if you do that, you get a token. And depending on how many players that you have, it depends on how many number of tokens you get. It's a game of 16 cards, a bunch of little cubes, comes in a little pouch, has many varieties of it. There's themes out the wazoo, but they're effectively all the same thing. So pick your poison. It's a micro game. It will take you no longer than 10 minutes. Good for long-term conventions. Machikoro is another one. This game was nominated for Spiel des Jahres, or the Game of the Year award given out by in Essen in Germany. And this is effectively Settlers of Catan without the board. So on your turn, you roll your dice, you look at the result, you get money based on what you got, and then you can buy buildings. The goal of the game is real simple. Be the first person to build those 4 cards. You can do them in any order that you want. There's a lot of different strategies involved with it. There are cards that only activate when other people roll their dice. So if they roll a number that you have, they pay you money, and vice versa. There are special cards that when you roll, other actions can happen to mess up other people's towns. And first person to build those 4 cards wins. It is a very straightforward game, very elegant game. I will recommend do not play with any of the expansions. Base game, all of the cards are laid out. Everything is available to you. You have a lot of options. If you add expansion to it, you shuffle the entire thing into one giant randomized deck and hope there's a combination there to get you started with it. Otherwise, you're just like rolling for money and hoping for good cards to come out. So if you're going to play with the random rules or the expansion, stack the deck up first. Now, good news is a lot of people online have done this for you. So do what they did. Don't waste your time. Flip City. This game's real simple. You want 7 medals. First person to get that wins. However, when you play cards down, you play it one at a time. So you have a deck of cards, you have it in your hand, you look at the first building. You either play or go on, or pass. So you put the building down, you get another building. Now, on the buildings themselves, some of them are going to have little evil pollution symbols. If at any point you have 3 of those pollution symbols, your turn is over, you get nothing. So it is a risk-reward system. If you stop prior to that, you get all the resources on the card. You can buy cards. You can flip cards over to make them more powerful cards. And usually that's how you get victory points. You can also buy additional cards into your deck. When your deck runs out, you shuffle it up, and then you go about it again. And you try to go and build up your city. Anybody here play Blocus before? A couple of people. So this is Blocus with hexes. So it's effectively the same thing. Your goal is to put all your pieces on the board in various shapes. In order to do that, you want to place your pieces in a diagonal hexagon position. So you take a look at the picture on the in the middle there. 2, 3, 6, and 7 are valid moves because they are diagonally away from your piece, and there's no other piece blocking it or in the way. So those are valid positions. That's the most difficult part of this game, to keep remembering that. But once you have that down, much more complex than Blocus, much more involved in Blocus, goes up to 6 players, and it is a massively entertaining game. So if you're a fan of Blocus, definitely try this out. Really good game. From the same designer, we have Click Clack Lumberjack, Tick Tock Woodman, Bling Bling Gemstone. Insert theme here. So this game, the best way I describe this is reverse Jenga. Your goal is to knock the tree down, and you want the dark brown pieces. They give you points. Some of the pieces have bugs in them. They give you a bonus point and an extra turn on the tree. If you knock over the light brown core piece, that is -5 points. So the goal of the game is to make sure your opponents do that for you. So you're just like, ding, ding, and then if it falls down, you take it. And from there, you keep going around. Someone eventually screws up, and the whole thing falls over. And you're like, no! And then once the tree is completely gone, everyone counts up their points. Whoever has the most wins. It's a good dexterity game, very fun and entertaining. Coconuts! Anybody here play beer pong? This is Korean beer pong. Without the bear, unfortunately. House roll it if you want. But effectively, you have a monkey, which is effectively a lever. You put a coconut in his hands. You pull the hands back, and it throws it over its head. And from there, you're trying to put it in the cups. Now, what makes it slightly different is that you have to call out the cup first in order to score it. Red cups are worth more points, by the way. And people have cards. At any time of the game, they can play cards, either making you blindly go and play your turn. They could actually have them call the cup shot for you. It's like, you're not going for that one, you're going for that one over there, the one that's hard to get. Good luck with that. Or everyone's favorite card, the Wind Gust card, which means while they're going on their turn, you have any means necessary to go and destroy them with wind. Like, or take a newspaper, just flap it up and down to make a wind gust, just to make it harder for them to get their shot off. So, Bunch-It is a very interesting game. It's really common, and it's definitely good for parties. There's a 2-player variant, and the more popular one that you'll see in the States at least is the 4-player variant. String Railway. So this is a train game with yarn. So you set up the board by doing a cat's cradle net out and lay out your string. From there, you go and have a string by its own, and you have to dangle it down onto the board as your track. From there will be stations that you want to go through. Some stations, you can have multiple trains go through it. So you want to try to sneak your way into a station and out. If at any point you go over someone else's yarn or over the river or mountain yarns, you lose points. So you have to very delicately go and drip it down in order for that to take place. Minerva. So there's this game called Glenmore. It's out of print, but this is effectively Glenmore. It is a tile laying game. When you lay your tiles out, once you place it on the board, every tile surrounding it activates. And that can give you goods, it can give you victory points, it can allow you to transfer goods to other types of goods. It is a tile laying game. If, however, at the end of the game, you have more tiles than the person with the fewest, you lose victory points at the end of the game. So it's a balance of get your engine built, but get your engine built efficiently enough so that you don't take excess tiles. Now for the Japanime game block. These are a vendor. They're actually down in the expo hall if you want to see them. Tentacore. Who here has played Dominion before? This is Dominion with maids. That's it. All right. Who here has played Ascension before? This is Ascension. Actually, there's a little bit more than that. It is Ascension, but instead of stabbing the cultist, you stab your opponent. So it was a dual Ascension. Build up your deck, stab the other person, and whoever has 0 hit points loses. I'm going to go a little bit longer with this one. Shadow Hunters. This is effectively werewolf, but you are either a hunter of the monsters, a monster, or a random NPC player. And each player has a task to win the game. It's like you monsters have to kill the hunters to win, or the hunters kill the monsters to win, or the NPC players just make everything worse. Like, if you're the first person to die, you and only you win. Or if you get the specific item, your HP goes back down to zero automatically, so you have longer times to survive. NPC, if the hunters win, they win, so they want to help the hunters. And where you roll 2 dice, you pick a spot to go on, and it has an action either attack somebody, draw a card, and you try to sneak information, try to have actions happen. Whereas, like, if you're a hunter, gain 1 energy. If not, do nothing. You slide the card back underneath the deck, so you know the information no one else does, and it's a deduction game. Tragedy of the Looper. Anybody here excited about Persona that's coming out soon? Yeah. Have you ever wondered what would happen if you had Persona into a board game? This is Persona the board game, where you're trying to solve a murder that's going to take place. Time stories is kind of popular where you go forward in time and then you revert back and you try it again. But Tragedy Looper has more dire straits to it. So you get clues along the way forward, but when you go back, stuff changes. And you got to figure out what the stuff changes are. It has a DM do it. You have, I believe, 3 to 4 times, depending on the scenario that you play, to go back in time. And you have to pick up the little nuanced changes to give you hints to figure out where the killer is and how they effectively do it. And if you manage to pull off, congratulations, you win. If not, whoever's running the game wins. Then everyone doesn't like them and goes on their way. Really, really interesting game. Highly recommended. Here's a simple one. Adventurous. So I flip a card out. It's a 10. If everything goes well, we are going to split the eggs evenly. So in this case, everyone's going to get 3 eggs. You have a card in your hand of 2, 3, 5, 7, and skip. Your goal is to get exactly the number of eggs in the bag as the card. So I want 3 eggs in the 3 bag. So I may put the 3 out. And then when it's divided up, hey, my 3 bag is full. I don't need to worry about it for the rest of the game. Nice. But there's that skip card. Someone can go, nah, I don't want the eggs. So now it's evenly divided out to the rest of the players. So in this case, 5 and 5. But you played 3. Your bag breaks. That's out of the game, and that's negative points. Epica what? This is Blind Man's Bluff. You're a wizard casting spells. You want to knock out your opponents. Spells go from 1 to 8 with that appropriate amount. You call a spell. If you have it, great. You got it. If not, move on. Burano is a Euro game. Through and through. Euro game. Straight up. Except turn taking is Mahjong. You make a pyramid. Your first action is on top of the pyramid. And then you have 4 cubes there. Each cube is a different action. So when you build your pyramid, you have to go, okay, I want to do that first. And then I'm going to do this action. And then if he does that action instead, I can go to the first level. It's a really complex, really deep structure for it. That's the run for that. Fake Artist goes to New York. Somebody wants a masterpiece. Everyone knows what it is except for one person. Everyone gets a different color marker. And you have 1 stroke on the canvas to draw what they want. At the end, the artist must guess who is the fake artist. If they get it right, they get points. If they get it wrong, they do not get points. If the fake artist is discovered, that artist has 1 guess to figure out what you were trying to draw. If they're right, they still get points. Deep Sea Adventure is a pressure luck game. The further down you go, the more victory points you get. However, oxygen is a limited supply. So you want to escape into the sub with your goods and not drown, because if you drown, you lose all the stuff that you get. There's only 3 rounds of it. All right, we got to speed by this. We're running low on time, so let's go through this. I just told you a whole bunch of games that you can go ahead and play. Now, how do you get them? Internet forums are really nice. And I'll give credit where credit's due. Board Game Geek is doing a really big push right now to get into the Asian game market. There are lots of sub-forums in there specifically for Asian and Korean games specifically. And they're making deals with publishers to do small print runs of games. Just do a quick search on that. Check out those feeds. You'll find ways to go there. You can also go to Amazon. Last year, anyone now with an American address can sign up with an account at amazon.co.jp, and you have games shipped to them. If you have an Amazon credit card, you do get triple reward points. This opened up the floodgates for a lot of people. This was a really big push, and a lot of board games are now obtainable that were not. You can insert another store here. Does anyone recognize that picture, by the way? No, it's actually Internet Explorer Chan, the official mascot of the Internet Explorer. Asian cultures are weird sometimes. But so, you can go and shop online. However, they're probably not going to ship to you directly. So what do? You use a forwarding service. You basically ship it to them. You pay the money. They ship it to you. Everything's there. Tenzo's one. There's a bunch of other ones out there. Do your research. Publishers, there's a bunch of them. They have websites. You just go and find them, look on their website, see what games are coming out, then go get the games. Also, you want to go to trade shows. There are options for games at trade shows. The problem, though, is you got to go to actual real trade shows like Essen and Game Market. And if you are free and want to go to Germany next week, you can go to the International Toy Fair. Bunch of Japanese games are lined up there, so you can totally go there. Now you have an excuse to go next week. Finally, you can just go travel to the country. There are people that will travel and visit Japan and other countries with an empty bag, fill it up with stuff, and then send it back on their way back. It's also an excuse for vacations, so why not do that? I am exactly out of time right now, so I want to give you a big thanks for coming out here. Hopefully you enjoyed this talk. Like I said, I have business cards if you're interested in contacting with me. Thank you for coming to PAX South. Enjoy the rest of the day and make the most out of it.